We are live. Zoo already here in the chat. Highly motivated guy. Already typing away in the chat. The show didn't even start yet. Welcome everybody. Welcome to the show. It is another Monday night chill stream. It is February 28th, right? So this is it. This is spring is about to begin, and more or less. There's ducks in the air all over the place. And I noticed them a couple of weeks ago. I was like, I think we're going to have an early spring because the birds flew back. Title of tonight's show is Whistling Past the Graveyard. It's an old school saying, that something you're terrified of and you have to go through. You put on a brave face and you're whistling as you walk past the graveyard because you're afraid of ghosts and you're afraid of things that go bump in the night that are going to grab you as you walk past those iron gates, And obviously, the obvious graveyard is, of course, Afghanistan, right? Afghanistan is the graveyard of empires. It was the graveyard of Alexander's empire. It was the graveyard of the Roman Empire. It was the graveyard of the English Empire. It was a graveyard of the Russian Empire. And now it's a graveyard of the American Empire. And a lot of what we're seeing is part of this, right? You have China and Russia increasingly belligerent, right? Increasingly not going along with the unipolar, singular superpower worldview. And America, we've grossly overextended ourselves. We've hollowed out. The economy's hollowed out. The culture has now been hollowed out, right? The COVID thing is I think is almost the final nail in the coffin of a culture that hates white America, hates men, hates all the American ideals, hates all of that. You know what I mean? So tearing that down as much as they have, whether they're in power, in government, or just using cultural tools like Hollywood and they're the woke video games, all that sort of stuff, right? Delcroix, happy spring, 1st of March. Yes. Say hello to the March hare. Should you see him hippity hopping along the lanes on the Emerald Isle? But the end of the American Empire is here, and you're seeing that. You're seeing all this weird pushback and not weird pushback, obvious pushback. You know what I mean? Russia and China, they're just waiting. They sense weakness, and anywhere they see weakness, they're gonna push against. So and culturally now, nobody believes anything the government says, right? No, unless you're some sort of nose ring, blue-haired transgender person, you're gonna be pushed to the side. Except, of course, when they're gonna try and drum up support to go defend the borders of a corrupt, former Soviet state. And I tweeted this earlier. If you follow me on Twitter, I tweeted this earlier in the week. This whole thing, from our point of view, is American Jews fighting with Russian Jews over who gets to control the Ukrainian Jews. And that's all this is. We don't have a dog in this fight. White boys from Russia are going to go kill white boys from the Ukraine because the Jews are having, a mild disagreement over who gets to divvy up. And Ukraine has they have oil but they have like mineral wealth and stuff like that too. So there's plenty to extract from Ukraine, but not for us, right? And I said a couple of weeks ago, Zoo, of course, in the chat, jumped the gun. I thought Asians were supposed to be patient. You had to get very rushing ahead. I said that Putin kind of punked out on the Bitcoin thing, that Russia had the chance to go full Bitcoin, to back the ruble with Bitcoin, and they chose not to do it. But it looks like now the Russian people and a bunch of these oligarchs have decided they're not going to wait for official Russian permission. They're just going to start buying Bitcoin like crazy. And if you look at the chat, right, Zoo was saying, thank you, Russia, for the pump. Bitcoin, which was hanging around the mid 30s, the high 30s, is now at the time of the show, I think we're at 43 and change. So we got a little bit of a pump, $4,000 or $5,000 pump that is likely to stay with us because this is a lot bigger players getting into Bitcoin. When it was the Canadian truckers getting, $8,000 in a live stream or $700,000 over a 2-week period, that's one thing. But you have people with real money now looking at Bitcoin as a safe haven to avoid being made homeless and starving. I talk about people being made homeless and starving all the time. Well, the Jews in America are trying to do that to the Jews in Russia, and this is what they're battling, right? And there's a lot of us. Let's do the first screen share. There's a lot of us. Make sure I got the right one up there. I want to show this last week, but I always lose stuff. I lose stuff, then I get drunk and I forget which email I sent to myself. It's a disaster, this show. But last week's show was like 48 views and like nine upvotes, and none of those votes were mine. So I would have added my standard Greek, it would have been 10. So huge numbers, gigantic. I must be lagging now because this is it's ever so slowly coming along. We got to be patient. Unlike Zoo, who wants to rush right into the Bitcoin pump numbers, but this is one of the guys. This is somebody or something I saw on Twitter, which was it expresses the opinion that a lot of us have, and it's a bit in your face, right? Where is this guy? Come on, man! This computer's taking its sweet time today. What does the guy calls himself? Deep fucking honk, right? So that's a pretty well thought out. It's deep fucking hodl is the actual at address if you want to find him on Twitter. But some stack sats to try and get rich quick. Some stack sats to retire early. But I stack sats purely to burn this goddamn slavery matrix to the fucking ground. Hashtag Bitcoin. And I got to tell you, that is a sentiment that is more popular than you might think. That's kind of in your face, pugnacious, the kind of thing that I would post if I was as clever as him. I'm not, but absolutely, this guy and my worldview is very, very similar. We're living in, a slavery matrix of central bankers calling the shots. And, starting wars, killing people, throwing all sorts of things into chaos because they're having a bad day. And there's nothing we can do about it other than Bitcoin, which is the way to burn this thing to the ground. You know what I mean? And that's what we have to do. And Bitcoin is the best tool to do it. And you can join the Bitcoin army anytime you want at any at a level of ability, right? One of the things, there's a couple dudes on Twitter that they're very woke to the JQ, but they believe like Putin is like some kind of great, like he's the strong man of Russia, and Russia is always autocracy and orthodoxy and tradition, and the fucking Jews are terrified of Putin, and I'm like, no, man, I don't see that. He's like, yeah, he'll fucking throw their asses in prison, and he'll do this and he'll do that. And I thought about, and I want to argue with this guy. This guy won't argue with me. Too many of these dudes, like, listen, again, just because you once, some malnourished Antifa, right? You beat them in an argument doesn't mean your worldview is like fucking airtight. You know what I mean? It doesn't mean that you have a bomb-proof philosophy because someone who can't decide what gender they are, you beat them in an argument. That's not a whole lot of opposition. So this guy's like, yeah, Putin will throw people in prison, and I couldn't remember the name of it. I just Googled it before the show. There's a federal correctional institution just north of New York City called Otisville, OTIS, Otisville Federal Correctional. FCI, Otisville FCI is almost exclusively a Jewish prison, right? It's just north of New York City. It's all Jews who are there. Trump's lawyer went there. Bernie Madoff went there. All these Jews that get thrown in prison go there. You know what I mean? Particularly for federal crimes. There's a few Chabos, goy that go there, like white dudes, but it's I think it's like a minimum security prison. It really is like a country club, like Club Fed. There's no fights, there's no gangs, there's no nothing. You know what I mean? Because there's no black dudes there, there's no Spanish dudes there. You know what I mean? It's all just Jews. The menu at the prison is kosher. So if I said, hey, look, New York State has a prison just for Jews, and we stick all the Jews in it, and we stick them all in there, and that proves that the Jews have no power in New York State. Everyone would laugh their heads off to you, like you're fucking retarded. Just because there's a prison for them doesn't mean that the ones that are free don't have enormous power, right? And that's what these guys who are in love with Putin, this strongman concept, these lovers of strongmen, they're like, oh, we're going to get a strongman, and this guy's going to come and he's going to fix everything. And I'm trying to like get inside their heads. I'm like, why do they think that? Like, why do they expect a hero to come riding over the fucking hill, on a white horse with shiny armor, and he's going to wave the sword and he's going to fucking knock down the bad guys? That's not going to happen. It just doesn't happen. It never happens historically. It's not going to happen now. And part of it, I think, is that they realize maybe like how scary this thing, like when you really like the deeper and deeper you get into this, you realize, fuck, this is crazy scary. This is, they run damn near everything, or they have such heavy influence over everything. It makes you feel like there's nothing you can do, right? And so I don't know, perhaps out of desperation, you hope that some hero is going to come and save this, but it isn't going to happen like that. And even the whole idea of a strong man, whoever, man, like Francisco Franco or Augusto Pinochet, right? Pinochet was our guy, or was the other guy was our guy? Yeah, Pinochet was our guy. He was against Allende, whomever, like pick who you want. The thing about the strong man is when he's gone, everything is gone, right? There's no, okay, then what? You got to hope for another strong man exactly like the first one. You know what I mean? Which, if you're honest, or if you can do math, you realize is not going to happen. So, and when people like me go, hey, listen, I understand you have to impose negative consequences on people doing bad things. You need more like it can't be just one guy, because when he's gone, what happens? It goes right back into shit, and people are like, no, fuck the Constitution, fuck democratic institutions. We got to have a strong man who just changes everything. Then that's just not going to happen, right? And it's also kind of an admission that you're incompetent, right? Because if there was a system of governance where like competent people had to do shit, you're not going to be one of those people, right? You know what I mean? You're not like somebody says, oh, listen, here's your responsibilities. You got to get to this right away. You're going to be like, oh, I really kind of suck at shit. Maybe we should give that to someone else. So it's a very childish worldview to think that one guy's going to save you and that everyone's going to jump, and do what he says. And that autocratic leader is just going to, his worldview and your philosophy are going to line up perfectly, seamlessly. It's crazy. And for these Putin boosters, Putin threw some Russian oligarch in prison. Well, so what? You know what? Like, so what? We threw Bernie Madoff in prison, right? Bernie Madoff died in prison. What the fuck? That proves that Jews have no influence in America, right? Because we threw that cheating, lying rat bastard in prison and let him die of cancer. That proves it, doesn't it? That doesn't prove anything. That's, you know what I mean? He's one out of, how many, right? And all the bad acts that they've done historically and that they're still doing. So Delcroix in the chat, Putin was a KGB for fuck's sake. On a side note, he has had his black belt taken away and he was canceled by the Kung Fu. Yes, probably all those matches were all setups. You know what I mean? They're all like, none of these people ever make a mistake, and they're all, everything they do is flawless and perfect. And we all know that isn't true. It's just not true. But there's the urge for people to believe in that is so strong. And I find that just too bizarre. It's like super bizarre. I got a ton of screen shares we got to get through. That was the first one. But when you talk about people that that really don't know, that are really incompetent, have no idea what they're doing, this is this is a great one. I got this from, this is that Twitter account I follow. This guy's a better geopolitical commentator, strategist, or whatever, observer. A lot of others than many others, because he's from outside of America, and you get a view that is outside of our little matrix. So it's a big plus. So when this thing pops up, this thing should pop up any day now. Right. We're still waiting on it. Wow, this is taking its sweet time. Oh yeah, plenty of stuff. Okay. So there's Biden sitting at a desk, and apparently U.S. is presenting the Chinese with satellite photos showing Russia's buildup in the Ukraine before they pulled the trigger. And they gave it to the Chinese and said to the Chinese, hey, talk to Moscow and talk them out of invading. And Moscow just handed the intel over to Russia. I'm sorry, the Chinese just handed the intel over to the Russians. It's like China is our enemy, or our adversary, and Russia is our adversary. So why would you hand like super high resolution spy photos showing like exactly what Russian unit, probably down to the man, probably down to what insignia they have on their shoulders, like crystal clear satellite photos? Why would you give that to one of your enemies? Like, why would you do that? You know what I mean? The Chinese just handed it to Moscow. Here you go. Here's a gift. A gift from the Americans. People have to be laughing their fucking asses off. You know what I mean? So these are the incompetents that are trying to manage the world. They are giving, our enemies our intel. God knows what else they're doing. But this was particularly a spectacularly stupid thing. And this was before anything even kicked off. So what are they doing since then? They're doing the propaganda efforts are like so bad. Again, you would think that this was you would think that that like we wrote this. Like you would think that like seriously right-wing people or like whatever dissidents, you would think we wrote this as a parody, right? Because like no way in hell would anyone like prior to their full spectrum dominance would something like this ever show up. I saw it and I read the headline and I'm like, no way, it's not real. It's got to be Photoshop. Got to be Photoshop. Got to be Photoshop. There it is. Watch live as Ukrainians. You see the three Ukrainians there? The three of them up front in the photo? Flee Russian invasion as cars remain stuck on the queues in Mostyaka, whatever it is. So, we was Ukrainians. They're not Ukrainians. They're Dindukranians, right? Like there's no way you could like, how could you do this? Like, how would you pick that? The CIA goes through all of this, just to show that who the real victims. They're the real victims. You know what I mean? They were just peacefully picking cotton or cutting sugar cane or whatever they do, whatever those poor African slaves do in the Ukraine. Like, really, you think that somebody like a far right lunatic made up this headline? But it's not made up. It's real. It's 100%. It is 100% real. So think of the real victims here. Think of these poor Dindus, that have to carry their own suitcases. They don't even have a white person to carry the suitcase. You know what I mean? And they have to walk on the road. Oh, it's terrible. Probably can't even get Popeyes over there. You know what I mean? You probably can't get Popeyes. But one of the things about what's potentially coming in the future. Um, Here's again, this is from the guy on Twitter who looks at the world in a bit more realistic way than anything you're going to see or anything that I see on CNN or anything like that, or anything that Twitter rolls along. But knowing that none of this stuff happens overnight, like they present it to you like Russia just for no reason overnight decided to do this. But we all know this happens very slowly. And something like an invasion doesn't happen real quick. So this is a graph. Virgil Doc, Purple Heart. Good evening, sir. Welcome to the show. So what does this graph show? This graph shows the amount of US dollar denominated debt that the Russian government used to hold. So a lot of governments around the world, they buy US Treasury bonds and they hold on to them, right? And they get interest from the bonds. So they essentially loan the American government cash, and then we pay them back interest. Okay. And if you look at this chart, it falls off rather steeply. And I don't know how detailed your screen is, but it falls off rather steeply in about 2018. So, and the tweet was from this guy, do you really think that Russia wasn't prepared for the sanctions? The prep started a long time ago. In order to do this sort of thing, in order to do invasions and war and stuff, it isn't done at the flip of a switch. It isn't done just because you're having a bad hair day. You know what I mean? To prepare for this, you have to prepare a long time. And part of the Russia narrative that they pushed for so long was probably really driven by this, right? Because none of these guys want to lose money, right? They're bad guys, yeah, whatever, but they don't want to lose money. They don't want war so bad that it hurts their wallets. So they're going to dump all the U.S. Treasury bonds in advance. You know what I mean? So that they're not holding bad paper when the war kicks off. And you think, well, so what? Well, here's the so what. China has 20 times the debt. Like China is holding 20 times more, at least, than Russia ever held. And if China ever starts dumping its debt, America, as you know it, is finished. Okay. Once China dumps debt, because China owns, I don't know, an insane amount of debt, of U.S. debt. If they dump it, right, and the world financial markets see that the second largest economy has lost faith in the first largest economy, America, as you know it, ends. As we understand it, ends. The economy crashes on levels like you can't imagine. And when that happens, then China's going to go to war with us. You know what I mean? They could just take Taiwan whenever they want. Taiwan is made out like it's a big deal, and it is a big deal because all the computer chips come from Taiwan Semiconductor, and China's China's sending fighter jets to fly over Taiwan is just them fucking with them. They're just fucking with them. They're just like, hey, look what we can do anytime we want. And the Taiwanese are just fucking piss running down their legs. But there's no need for them to fake it. But when China dumps U.S. Treasury bonds, we don't want them anymore. We're selling them, and the American economy goes to like worse than the 1930s, worse than the Great Depression. Then we're going to be in a war. Hamida Hasib, I have no idea who you are, but if you're a real person and not a weirdo bot from the NSA, welcome to the show. So that's the thing you got to worry about, is that if China dumps the debt, this is, the world is literally never the same. Literally never the same. So what else do we got here? Okay, so let's go a little bit into right. This was, I thought was hilarious. This I've mentioned this before, but like literally everybody sees it. except the people in charge. But the people in charge see it. Everyone sees that big changes are coming, and negative changes for the United States, and negative changes for the U.S. dollar. You know, so see if it comes up on the screen here. As I click back and forth and start the process of getting myself lubricated for the show. There it is. The American Revolution 2.0 is in our stars, and it's already begun. This is like Astrology Magazine or something like that. And their 2021 horoscope said 2022 is going to be the year. You know, Pluto, the planet Pluto, has come back from, I don't know, whatever it was doing. And it's going to, Pluto it makes changes or whatever every 200 years. So this is, of course, astrology is bullshit. But if the astrology people, and they put the Bitcoin right next to Ben Franklin, you know what I mean? If the astrology people can figure this out, like, you know, maybe some of you guys ought to start thinking, all right, you know, something's going on here. Like, ridiculous people and serious people are all starting to see the same thing, because it's ultimately, it's going to be inevitable. I talk about this all the time. I've talked about this for a couple of years. You know, Bitcoin will replace the US dollar because it does everything you want it to do, and they can't stop it, right? And we use it too. I'm not saying we don't use it. Here's a perfect example of our friends, and the people who give richer is we. Where are we at? Show the tweet. Come on, crappy computer. Show the tweet. Look at this. 4 people already. 5 people. Man. Big numbers. We're doing huge numbers. When is this one from? This is from February 24th. Bitcoin donations to the Ukrainian military are soaring as Russia invades. And this is the CIA sending money over there. Okay. So CIA using Bitcoin to help fund their pals in the Ukraine. And of course, there's scammers, you know, saying, hey, send all your Bitcoin to this address. Or if you want to donate to help the Ukrainians, send your Bitcoin to this address. I promise it'll get to the Ukrainians. And almost certainly they are scammers. But this is the double-edged sword of all of this. You know, this is the we're using this, and so is everyone else. So, and then we end up in this position, right? Just a few days later. This was actually from today. All right. This is from today. Zoo in the chat. Zelensky is a small hat. Yes, he is. Yes, he most certainly is. And one of the guys who helped him get into power is an oligarch who got out of prison or something, or no, fled to Israel prior to Zelensky getting into power. And as soon as Zelensky got back in, the dude came back from Tel Aviv. From today, 28 February 2022, Biden administration is asking crypto exchanges to help ensure targeted Russians follow sanctions. So the CIA sent its pals in the Ukraine Bitcoin to keep that they're going to sell immediately for weapons or whatever. And then, in the next breath, the White House is asking Coinbase to not allow people to buy Bitcoin or trade or take their Bitcoin off the exchanges. Okay. This is the thing that they can't control. When we talk about permissionless, when we talk about freedom money, right? When we talk about decentralized, when Bitcoin people talk about separating money from state, this is what we're talking about. And they can't stop it. Okay. You can use it, you can send it one way, but you can't stop others from using it. No matter how hard they try, they will not be able to stop it. And, at best, What they might do, like if they really crack down on Coinbase, if they really put pressure on Coinbase, Coinbase might do something. But here's what anybody could do. You're living in Moscow. You're like, oh my God, they're closing the stock exchange over there. They're closing the banks. The banks are raising interest rates, doing all kinds of shit. So there aren't bank runs, and they don't have all the money get sucked out of the system. They're trying to add gold to shore up the value of the ruble. But right, so you're Russian, and this is all bullshit, and I ain't gonna do this. Well, what are you gonna do if you have any relatives outside of Russia, right? Even if the U.S. government manages to shut down Coinbase, so for Russian customers, even if that's possible, and Coinbase says they really can't do that, but why couldn't you just call your cousin in London or Germany or wherever and say, hey, buy some Bitcoin, right? Put it on your phone and then send it to me, and I'll send you the money. You know what I mean? I'm your cousin. Like, what's to stop them? None of these government goofballs understand what they're fighting against. It's a fair argument to make that the Jewish empire is an empire of money, of usury, of debt slavery, right? And you could argue that Henry Ford's attempt, and I showed this a while back, Henry Ford in the 1930s wanted to create a new form of money based on electricity. A lot of people don't know that. He asked the government for permission to use the Muscle Shoals, Louisiana power plant to do something. I don't know what Henry Ford was going to do, but Henry Ford that didn't happen, right? He never, whatever his idea was, died with Henry Ford. You could say that in Germany in the 1930s, they decided to do finance a different way. You know what I mean? A government issued currency that was extremely low interest or extremely low interest. And if you had two kids and you didn't have to pay back the loan, right? They changed banking and their economy boomed. But that didn't work out so well because they went off the rails with other things. You could argue that JFK got his skull popped in Dallas because he signed an order to remove the Federal Reserve from making the monies for the United States. At least that's what they say. I don't know if that's true. That's not true. But his head got popped. And then the guy who supposedly shot him got shot by a guy named Jack Ruby. What a coincidence, right? That, Saddam Hussein swung by the neck until dead, right? Because he tried to trade oil in euros and not in USD, right? Not using the petrodollar. And that, Muammar Gaddafi, had to hide in a sewer pipe, and they found him and tortured him to death and killed him anyway, even for everything he did in Libya, because he was trying to use a gold-backed Libyan dinar to trade oil. You know what I mean? So you got democracy brought to you, right? ISIS, Al Qaeda, Al Nusra Front, whatever. They all just magically seem to find you. So one could make the argument that in the last 100 years there have been a number of challengers to this empire of usury and financial control, and all of those challengers have failed. All right. And part of the reason why is because they were centrally controlled. There was one man in charge or one nation in charge, and it was relatively easy to attack. It was a physical thing you could attack and get rid of. There's someone you could kill and frighten everyone else. But Bitcoin, you can't do that with Bitcoin. All right. What are you going to do? Blow up the internet? Are you going to shut off the internet? They use the internet to spy on us constantly, right? You walk around with a cell phone, which is a spy object in your pocket, right? And they can see, and all cell phones have GPS on them, so they know where you are if they want to know where you are. They're not going to shut that off, right? They're not going to go back to the dark ages where they didn't know what you were saying or where you were. They can't live that way, okay? But Bitcoin is native to the internet. It was born from the internet. It was born to the internet, and they can't shut that off either. So this is the thing that's going to destroy them. I absolutely believe this with all my heart and soul. And that's what I talk about all the time, because there's no one dude to shoot. You can't blow up the country. You can't, let's all attack this one country, or, you can dismiss this Bitcoiner as a lunatic or that Bitcoiner as a lunatic. But more and more and more people who actually have something to lose are saying, uh-oh, what do I do here? Like, what do I do? And there was a clip. I wish I still had this. I wish the video was still up. The channel's been wiped out. But there was a video of Barack Obama from it was like 2014. like 2014, he's being interviewed. He was still president at the time. He's not even wearing a tie. He's just like, he had a suit jacket on and a shirt, but it was like he's being like, you're the president. You got to wear a tie all the time. Anyway, but so he said, and somehow Bitcoin came up and he said, well, we can't have people just walking around with a Swiss bank account in their pocket. And I remember thinking, well, why not? It's the 21st century. Why not? Why can't you have that? And of course, the reason why is because you can't control it. And some people in the chat you could argue, well, how come Bitcoin's only 43,000? How come it's not 43 million? It will be. Once enough people realize that the only way to protect their wealth is to get out of US dollar denominated stuff, they will figure out Bitcoin one way or another. They will figure it out, or they will have somebody figure it out for them, and we'll get them Bitcoin. And as all of what is currently existing in real estate and sovereign debt, which is government issued debt, once people start exiting that and going into Bitcoin, it's going to be pretty insane. So the events of a dying empire are driving Bitcoin adoption and opening up opportunities for more and more people to see the value of this. People who normally would not be interested. Normally they wouldn't want to know. But now all of a sudden they see a threat to their way of life, to their wealth, to their position, and they don't like that. And they want some kind of security. And if security means that they need to own Bitcoin, they will start piling into Bitcoin. And 90% of the Bitcoin in the world, or that will ever exist, has already been mined. There's only 10% left. And the battle over that 10% is going to be pretty intense, I think. And I mean financial battle. You know what I mean? I'm talking about. So what else? So this was, no, I didn't want to see that. Click too fast. All right. Click on that one. Click on this one. Let's see what we got. No, I just showed that. And here's why. Here's why you got a Bitcoin. Here's, when I say the entire world, runs on their debt and their financial shenanigans, here's a perfect example from February 22nd, 6 days ago, right? A mere 6 days ago. Goldman does it. Morgan Stanley does it. JP Morgan, Wall Street's, I gotta look at it. Wall Street's biggest banks are betting on inflation and making billions doing it. So do you think inflation is going to stop? Do you think the price of gasoline is going to go down? And do you think it's really all just because of Russia, right? It's all going to be blamed on Russia. But the truth is, Wall Street, that little 3-block strip in downtown Manhattan, which rules the freaking world, okay? They're making a lot of money off this, and they're going to continue making money off this. And if you want to protect yourself from what these people are going to do to the entire world economy, not just the U.S. economy, the world economy, what do you think you're going to do to protect yourself, right? Like, really, what do you think you're going to do? Because you need to. Let's do that. I'm going too fast and overwhelming my crappy, my absolute crap connections and computer here. So I'm getting too excited. Don't get that excited, James. Don't get that excited. It's just another show. It's another Monday night chill stream. Everybody getting cozy in the chat. So it's all good. It's all good. This was a lot of people might know. So we have some new viewers. We had some new subscribers. And this is, of course, I'm actually the only extreme right-wing Bitcoin maximalist that has corporate sponsorship And this is our sponsor. Our sponsor is the maker of retard juice. And let's be honest, retard juice is probably the most heavily consumed product in maybe on social media entirely, but certainly on the right wing sections of Twitter and other social media platforms. You don't want to overdo it with the retard juice, kids, right? You want to be able to, for a brief amount of time, if you put aside your worldview and try to think, that things might be different. You know what I mean? Things might not go exactly the way you expect, exactly the way you believe. And I'm not being a dick when I say, present an argument to me how things are going to change to get better. Who's going to come and fix this, right? Who is going to come and fix this? Do you really think that one person is going to rise up, like high enough to do what? Like my family really believes this shit. They believe like Trump's going to come back and fix stuff. I'm not kidding you. They're posting shit on Facebook like, oh, I miss mean tweets. They don't leave it on Twitter. And I'm like, that you live in a bubble, that you live in a fantasy world. Away with that for a while, but reality is going to intrude in the absolute most violent and horrible way. And I would prefer it's better off that you come out of that bubble on your own than be ripped out by impersonal, you know what I mean? That are just looking to have fun destroying shit. It's better you step out and deal with reality. And I think a lot of people can't do that. They have a worldview that says, I have to believe this or else, and that is not the way to go. That is not the way to go. Where's our buddy? So many things. Right. I already did that. I'm trying to see. Here's the problem: and this is to just dovetail nicely. To just dovetail with the Wall Street making billions off of inflation. Comes this lovely story because they said, listen. The stock market's overheated. We've got to raise rates. The Federal Reserve Bank of America, we plan on 7 rate hikes, and we may increase interest rates maybe as high as 2.5% over 7 rate hikes measured, blah, 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 this, that, and the other. Well, guess what happened? Right? The SWIFT ban, the Russia invasion, the SWIFT ban means the Fed may need to be ready with dollars. Yeah, see, we were gonna raise interest rates and suck the money back into the system, and the stock market would suffer, but whatever, everyone else would do better off because gasoline prices would be lower and food prices would be lower and debt and the debt service would be lower. But you know what? We just got to keep printing. Sadly, it's not our fault, you know what I mean? But the fact that we have to ban Russia from SWIFT means we have to print more money. Now, I don't understand why that is. Why do you have to print more money if less money is going to Russia, right? But that's what they're selling you, and that's what people are going to believe. That is what people are going to believe. So where do we end up? We end up where we started. What drives all of this? Our friends, our buddies from the tribe who are smarter than us and work harder than us. And really, any sort of opposition to them is just irrational hatred that pops up from now and then. This is it. Because of Russia, we have to print. Brr, money printer, go burr. There it is. And it's not Jerome Powell's fault. It's not that the Federal Reserve wants to drown you in debt and make you and your children and your grandchildren debt slaves forever. No, 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 no. It's Russia's fault. See, if you're angry, be angry at Russia. The money printer has to keep going as fast or faster than it has ever gone because, reasons, right? So they're not going to stop printing, which means everything that is not dollar denominated, right? Everything that is not US dollars is going to rise. That means gasoline, that means food, that means real estate, that means stocks, and it's going to rise. I don't know how high, and I don't know how far and for how long, but we will reach a tipping point where it all collapses like it did in Weimar. Okay. And then everything that's denominated in dollars is going to be worthless. That's your real estate. That's sovereign debt. That's all of this stuff. You know what I mean? And that's going to change things like it was so bad. To be honest, it's really fucking scary. I think about this a lot. I try to think about how I'm going to navigate this, and it's scary as fuck. And I understand, like, people are like, I don't want to think about that. Just could I watch a TV show where somebody in a fucking with a cape and a mask flies around and beats up the bad guys, and then eat some crappy fucking Domino's pizza and pass out before I got to go do my next shift at fucking Amazon warehouse or whatever. Like, I understand that that's your urge, but that's not. It's going to be worse. It's going to be worse if you do it that way. You have to start thinking like, okay, they're not going to stop this. The people at the top, Wall Street's making billions off of inflation. Inflation's going to keep going. No matter what any politician tells you, it's going to keep going because Wall Street gets what Wall Street wants. And Wall Street and the Federal Reserve, people go back and forth around them. They go from Bank of New York to the Treasury Department, to the Federal Reserve, to this, to that. You know what I mean? Everybody knows how incestuous that is. This isn't going to stop. Think about how you're going to protect yourself. Think about how you're going to protect the people you care about, and what's that going to look like? Right now, what scares the crap out of the federal government is Bitcoin. You know what I mean? Oh no, the evil Russians are going to use Bitcoin to evade sanctions. Yeah, that those sanctions on a geopolitical level are the same as you getting losing your job and being made homeless and starving. Okay, if you can start now to protect yourself from that would be a smart move. Commit to doing that, and then you'll be in better shape, because nobody sent gold coins to the truckers, right? The CIA isn't taping silver coins to the feet of pigeons and sending them to the fucking Ukraine, hoping that they find a way. That's not how it's working, right? So you need to, it's amazing to a lot of people that all this crazy shit that I talk about next week or 2 weeks from now, boom, it's going to pop up in the news. I'm not an oracle. You know what I mean? I don't predict stuff, but I just drop all ideology. I look at what's going on, try to extrapolate reasonably from the fucking facts, and then make the smartest move I can make. Do the things that's going to be best for me. And that's what you have to do. If you're sitting there like my dopey fucking relatives waiting for Donald Trump to come back and save you, and it doesn't have to be Donald Trump. It could be anybody. You know what I mean? Whoever you think is going to come back and save you is not coming back to save you. And to be perfectly honest, if you're being lazy and stupid and childish, are you even worth saving? You know what I mean? These people, let's presume, I'll pause it for 5 fucking minutes. That your super savior, he's right around the corner. He's getting his fucking suit ready and putting on his fucking Marvel mask to come out and beat up the tribe or whatever you think he's going to do. Are you going to be worth saving? Or are you just going to be sitting there crying like a fucking worthless fucking child? You know what I mean? Are you worth saving? Well, if you're worth saving, you should do it yourself. Right? If the hero is going to save you, you got to be worth saving. So think about what that means. And listen, you could always donate your fucking Bitcoin to whatever the stupid white Wakandan ethno state or whatever you think that's going to happen, which, by the way, that's not going to happen. By the way, that's not going to happen. But this is probably where you want to be. This is, man, we appropriate some pretty cool fucking memes, in all honesty. Because I've talked about the concept of citadels. I've talked about building communities that are going to be where people want to live and the way people want to live. And this is a particularly great, super iconic New York photo, right? From back in the day. These were guys building the Empire State Building, right? In the 1930s. And they all went out there with their sack lunches to just sit out on a beam, 107 stories over the city and take that picture, right? And those guys, no safety harnesses. No, can you imagine? People talk about the balls in this one, the balls in that one. These were your grandparents, right? Or maybe if you're young, your great grandparents, right? And why did they do that? Because they were daring risk takers that they loved. That they what? They might have got they certainly got an adrenaline rush from doing that. You know what I mean? And the guys who didn't get drunk on the job and fall off the beams, were the ones in this photo. And of course, they're in the newspaper. They're pretending to do everyday things like, la-di-da, here we go. But Bitcoiners have appropriated this kind of as a meme, where they think of what they're doing as building something spectacular, as building something that's going to change the world, And of course, they'll have laser eyes, right? Their eyes are supposed to be laser eyes until fiat dies. I think it was laser eyes till 100K, and now it's laser eyes until fiat dies. Like, we're not giving up until we destroy all fiat currency on the face of this earth. That's Bitcoin, people. That's probably not whatever ideology you think is going to win. But we think of ourselves as builders and people committed to winning, right? Committing to making this happen. And, you think of yourself as waiting for whatever, your cartoon superhero to come and fucking save you. That one guy is going to overcome all of this shit. It's not going to happen. You know what I mean? It isn't going to happen. It's not going to happen, right? There's too much to do. It's too fucked up, right? The best you can do is avoid getting crushed by this and avoid getting sucked into some fucking stupid shit where you end up asking for a transfer to the Jewish prison in Otisville. Because you're stuck in some other facility that is very diverse. You don't want to go, yeah, it's a good idea. You know what? I think I will drive that van full of propane tanks into the synagogue or whatever the fuck Patrick Bateman wants you to do. You know what I mean? You don't want to be that guy. You know what I mean? And I don't want anyone to be that guy. I don't want anyone who hears me to go, yeah, I should. You know what you should do? Get some rest. Don't drink too much. Don't smoke any fucking weed. Quit all that shit. Lift weights. Eat the best food you can fucking eat. Stack fucking Bitcoin and get ready for things to change in your favor. You know what I mean? Have something to look forward to. And at the very least, protect the minuscule, tiny wealth that you have. Don't let the government inflate it away. Don't let Wall Street steal it from you. Like, that's all I'm saying. Don't let them steal it from you. You don't have to be a hero. You don't have to go out on a beam over New York City. You don't have to go fight World War II. You don't have to go over fight the Ukraine. Just don't let them steal your life from you, right? Your life, your labor, the things you produce. Don't let them steal that. Protect it in something else. That's what I tell people to do. And I don't know who listens to me. I don't know. I think some people listen to me. In fact, I know a couple of people listen to me, and I haven't given anyone bad advice yet. My advice has worked out pretty well for anybody who's listened to me in the last 2 years. and will work out. Will continue to work out better because this corrupt, fucked up world is not. It's not going to self-correct. It's going to fall apart. Get the fuck out of the way. Let it fall on someone else. Let other people get fucking crushed, and you can't help them. Like I can't help my family. I can't explain to them like Donald Trump is just as much of a puppet as anyone else. You know, like they won't have just like the people who think Putin's the fucking Superman of Russia. Who, oh boy, does he fucking keep the small hats in fucking charge, or small hats in line? When it's not true, you know, that's just not true. There's still 100. I think Russia has 117 billionaires. I don't know what percentage of the 117 billionaires in Russia are Jewish, but I'm guessing it's like 99.9%. You know, I don't think there's any white Russians or half Tatar or whatever the fuck you want to call them, Russians that are billionaires. I guarantee I would say that 99 to 100% of all the Russian oligarchs are Jewish. And if you think they don't get what they want, occasionally there's one step so far in the line that they got to be, it's going to be smacked down. Yeah, but so what? Like I said, Anthony Weiner went to prison. Harvey Weinstein went to prison. Bernie Madoff went to prison. Ivan Boesky went to prison. They were like, you know, come on, we do that too. We do that too. That doesn't mean they don't still fucking run shit. So think it through. Be smarter. You know, try to hold some different ideas in your head, and then you might end up thinking like this, because this is, and you want to talk about like extreme. This is one of my favorite extreme Bitcoin extremist memes, because at least in the 2016, 2017 cycle, you know, talk about, oh, I want to get rich, I want this, I want that, you know, but and people still think that way. But this was maybe one of my favorite memes of being low time preference and thinking about what's important, right? So what do you got on the left? What the government and the media want you to spend your Bitcoin on, which is a very pretty tangerine Lambo. It's about it's a $400,000 or $500,000 car. And then the picture on the right, what the government-run media doesn't want you to spend your Bitcoin on. Yeah, your own personal aircraft carrier. You know what I mean? If given a choice, I know which one. If I'm trying to pick up girls, you know what I mean, especially at my age, if I'm trying to pick up like hot 20, 25-year-old Ukrainian refugees, I know which one that I want. You know what I mean? I know which one I would rather have. But yeah, be lower time preference. You know what I mean? You got to be lower time preference and patient, and think about what the future is going to be. Look at what's happening now. You know, I'm not saying look at what happens now and be depressed. What I'm saying is be a realist and then make plans. Okay, go slowly, be thoughtful, make plans, and protect yourself and those you care about. And if there's nobody you care about, then just protect yourself. You know, just look out for number one. Then you know what I mean. Like, oh, there's going to be no Social Security. All right, there's going to be no Social Security. You know, got to have some Bitcoin. You know what I mean? Or dollar cost average. Take that crappy Social Security check and start buying Bitcoin. So when the dollar goes down and Bitcoin goes up, you won't have to eat dog food, or you won't have to be in a position where you're fucking fighting your neighbor to the death over the last fucking packet of ramen noodles. Because I really think that's coming. You know, again, I don't think it's coming 6 months from now, but I think that's coming. And you don't want to be in that position. Like, you don't want to be in that position. You know, you want to be away from where all that happens. And how are you going to do that? For most people, they don't have that opportunity yet, right? They don't have the way to do that. Relax. Good to see Chinese characters in the chat. Chinese characters is in fact Korean characters, sir. Sir, you are being racially insensitive, Mr. Relax. I don't know who you are, but welcome to the show. Zhu, the least patient Asian in the entire Asian continent. Oh, and I think he lives in Florida. So whatever. He has to deal with crocodiles and people on methamphetamine every day. So cut the guy some slack. you have thinking that anything's going to change without you being an active participant in this change, I think is really childish and naive, and it's going to end badly for you and anybody who depends on you. So don't do that, right? Like just don't do that. Um, if people say, "Well, I just want to live on a farm and like ride a horse or whatever," yeah, you could do that and still have fucking Bitcoin. You know what I mean? Um, the world is being run by incredibly stupid people. This whole kerfuffle in Ukraine, Russia supplies all the natural gas for fucking like Europe, like Western Europe, and Germany had 6 nuclear power plants shut down overnight. They just shut them all down, so they don't have any electric power. And like, what are they going to do? Where are they going to get energy? Like, where are they going to do this? People are going to make incredibly dumb decisions. The people in charge, because whatever reasons they're told to, or they're just fuck ups. They can't even interpret the proper orders from the World Economic Forum. You know what I mean? You're going to want the ability to resist. When I say resist that, I don't mean go out in the street and get fucking your ass kicked by fucking riot police. I mean the ability to pick up and leave, or if you have to stay where you have to stay, again, have the ability to not starve and be homeless. You know what I mean? That's what I'm talking about, because that's a big fucking deal. An enormous number of people that talk shit on the fucking internet about politics and revolution and this and that. I don't think most of you have been in a bad spot in your life. I don't think most of you have been in a position where you really need anything. You know what I mean? Like it's terrible for you that you didn't get to go skiing in Switzerland this year, but I assure you, life can get a lot harder than that. Life can get a lot fucking harder than that. And even if it's not going to happen to you because of whatever reason, for all the millions of people around you, that's going to be a problem as well, right? And to be smarter, right? Be smarter. Again, think longer term. Be low time preference. Like how could it hurt you? It literally cannot hurt you to do what I tell you to do, and you may end up with. Listen, you may end up with an aircraft carrier of your own, which I would like. But right now, this is, whenever you have spare shekels, you should be looking to buy Bitcoin. For me, I had such great news over the last 3 weeks. What did I have go wrong with my car? I had the starter go in my car. I replaced the battery in my car. And then the alternator went in my car, so I had to replace the alternator and the serpentine belt. All that cost me money. And I had a filling break on me that I got like when I was 11 years old. So I had to go to the dentist, and they told me what I was terrified of was that they were going to tell me I needed a fucking another tooth implant, which is like $5,000, and it takes like 6 weeks because they have to clear out the old stuff and drill your fucking jaw, and then the screw has to sit there for like fucking a month, and then they put the implant on top of it. And I was like, man, I really don't want to spend $5,000 on another fucking tooth. But they said, no, lucky you. All you have to do is spend $1,000 on a crown, and it'll work. And I'm like, yeah, all right, whatever, do that. Let's do that. So for my meager limited income, I did not get a chance to grab the dip at 36 or 34. I was actually driving through Connecticut, and I saw Bitcoin at $34,000 on my phone, and I was like, fuck, I should buy. And I did not. And now I'm almost sort of regretting it. But like I said, my with my limited income and trying to manage like, $1,000 for the tooth, 200 here for this, 200 for that. It's like, fuck, So I understand my limitations and how I can only act at certain times in certain ways. And I'm sitting here like I'm just talking to like a camera, right? I'm just talking to a fucking computer. I see people in the chat. I don't know what your circumstances are or what what restrictions there are in your life. So I can't, and I've said this before, I can't write a fucking prescription like, oh, look, here's oh, guess what? You just randomly tuned into this channel. Here's the perfect prescription for your entire life right here. Lucky you. Like, nobody can do that, right? That's impossible to fucking do. What I can do in a general sense, in a global sense, is try and describe what's happening, provide evidence from different social media sites that the reality I describe is the reality that you're also living in, and suggest that you do something, that you make the smartest moves possible to reduce the amount of harm it can do to you. So, and that's not bad advice. Like, it may sound like the same thing week in and week out, but it's not bad advice. And considering the fucking shitstorm that media and social media is, somebody sending out kind of like the same signal week in and week out to maybe focus you a little bit might have a little more value than initially you think. The other day when what happened? Saturday there was no work. That's when I realized I needed an alternator. So I texted my mechanic, and so he's like, "Yeah, come by Sunday morning at 9:30." I hate waking up early, but I was like, "Okay." So I call work. I said, "Listen, I'm not going to work the rest of the day. Car problems, even though there's no work anyway, but you're like on the list." So they're like, "All right." So I go, I buy the fucking alternator. I drive to this guy's place in Queens on Sunday, and he's like, "Oh, you should have got the belt too." I was like, "All right, well, there's an auto parts store nearby. I'll go get the belt right nearby." So I go, I said, "Give me a belt for Toyota Matrix, blah, 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 blah." Kid gives me the part. It's the wrong part. It's too short. So I go back. I said, "No, listen, this one's too short." I said, "Give me the proper one." So he goes, oh, this one. Here, take this one. Gives me another one too fucking long. And I'm like, so this is like a 30-minute job that's now taking like fucking an hour. And so me and the mechanic getting in his car, and we go to like a second auto parts place, and we get, the guy goes, "Here, look on the belt here. That's a part number written on the belt. That's how you know." It's like, "Oh, thanks for telling me now." So we get the proper belt, and we put everything back together. And so that was Sunday. But in the meantime, I'm like hanging out with the mechanic, and I'm going, "You have no idea how crazy I am." This dude's like Guyanese dude. He's like in his 30s. He used to drive long distance, so he knows. He knows what life is like on the road. I was like, "You have no idea how crazy I am, do you?" He's like, "No, you're not crazy." I said, "No, you have no idea how fucking crazy I am." And he's like, "How crazy?" I was like, "Here, look." And I went to the BitChute channel for Politically Provoked. And I'm like, here's a live stream where I was like, whatever, the anti-Semitic Andrew Dice Clay or whatever the fuck, who was actually a Jewish guy pretending to be Italian. But I started playing that stream for him, and he was like, "Why is he looking at me like, fuck?" Dude. He's like, "Dude, you're fucking insane." I was like, "Cheers, lad." I said, I'm on fucking federal lists. Shit, on Gab. I went on fucking Gab, and I what I said earlier, that the Russia thing, the Ukraine thing, is American Jews fighting with Russian Jews over who gets to rule over Ukrainian Jews. I posted that on Gab, and then I should have fucking sent the picture. Like Little Miss fucking Brittany, no, I don't know, I said Brittany, whatever. Some super hot blonde chick, with bulging milkies and perfect fucking white teeth, just happened to follow me, right? She joined Gab in February of this year. She has 0 followers, right? She has no content, but man, is this super pretty girl who looks for like a porn star, just so interested in me, like right after I post that fucking remark. You know what I mean? So are you telling me that's not the feds? Are you telling me that's not Hasbara? Of course it is. We all know it is, right? I've gotten stuff like that from them before. So, this is the world we fucking live in, right? And if you're going to have unpopular opinions, if you're going to have opinions that go against the fucking official narrative, you have to sort through this shit. And sometimes I'm really good at it, and sometimes I'm busy thinking other fucking shit, and I get a little bit I'm a little slow on the pickup, but whatever. All in all, you know what? In the main, I get it right. So that's the value of what I provide on fucking social media. And the reason why I don't want this fucking channel to get too big is because I'm going to say small hats or chopstick Americans or tortilla Americans or fucking dindus or something. And I'm not joking. I don't want this to get that fucking big. This channel gets a 2, 3, 500, 1,000 fucking subscribers. Somebody's going to go, he said chopstick Americans. I'm going to go tell YouTube he's using racial slurs. And then 2 fucking years of fucking streams gone like this. It's like, fuck, you know what I mean? I kind of, you know, whatever. I kind of like the content not to be wiped out. You know what I mean? If for nothing else, it's something of an insult and it makes me feel a little bit powerless and frustrated that somebody can just go boop and everything I've done in the last fucking 2 years is gone. Not in love with that, but whatever, it is what it is. Like, it doesn't change who I am or what I'm doing, but I'd kind of like people to go, hey, look at this crazy fuck. Look what he said here. Look what he said there. You know, and for people to be able to get laughs up from it, you know, whatever, into the future. So that's a little bit my own personal vanity. But it is, you know, when you look at Richard Spencer and you look at Nick Fuentes or whoever else they throw in front of you, like, those guys never get accused of anti-Semitism. Those guys never get accused of hate speech. It was one of the things, and again, this is the fairest thing. If you think it through, like, who's a Fed, who's not a Fed. Have you ever been accused of anti-Semitism? If you get accused of anti-Semitism, you're done, right? They're gonna fucking wipe you out. But that's never happened to Richard Spencer. That's never it hasn't happened to Nick Fuentes either, I don't think. You know, so why? Because the accusation of anti-Semitism is that's beyond the pale. That makes you an insane Adolf Hitler worshiper, which I have the best thing. This is, wait a minute, let me show this. Now the alcohol is kicking in and where is it? No, that's not it. Fuck. Here it is. Yeah, this was, I'll send this to myself. This I found hilarious. This comes from a guy in Spain. Our friends in Catalonia. I don't know if he's really in Catalonia or not. But Spain was what was Spain? It was the nationalist Ferdinand Francisco Franco. Let's see how long this takes to hit my inbox. But I found this pretty funny because I hadn't seen it before. Where is it? It's still not here. Oh, come on, bro. Wow, this really sucks that nothing happens at the speed I want to. Here we go. This I thought was maybe amongst the funniest things I'd seen in a while, but it kind of fits. Open the fucking shot, will you? Here we go. This one I particularly liked. I like this. This will explain so much about me. You're like, but gee, James, aren't you secretly some kind of fascistic whatever? What is the origin? What is the real origin of anti-Semitism? Well, it could be a Nazi time machine. I don't know if you know this, but there are people that believe that the Nazis invented a time machine and travel through time to do. So you got to show this. Oh, here it is. It's coming. Stand by. Everybody be patient. I know you're already being too patient, but this I had not seen before. And it tickles me to no end. So what are they doing, right? So this, you can see it comes from a Spanish guy, right? The Roman salute, or the Roman salute is not Roman, right? The Roman salute that you do, that everyone thinks is the most horrible thing ever. So this fits to me like so perfect, because they hate us. They hate us like for 2.5 millennia. You know what I mean? So there's the origin of your Roman salute. Right? It's not Roman; it's a Greek salute. I don't know whatever they're doing, but the Roman salute is not Roman; it's a Greek salute. Right? You got in the upper left-hand corner, you got a statue doing it, and then you got 3 different pictures from 3 different amphora clay jugs, where everybody is doing the most forbidden arm gesture of all arm gestures, which, to be perfectly honest, makes me want to do it. Like now, I was never really into it, but now I'm starting to think, whoa, you know what? I'm kind of into this. You know what I mean? So there it is, 4 bits of proof that you know probably everything they don't want you to do is what you should do, and the origin of what you do goes way back to the very, 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 very beginnings of civilization. You know what I mean? I was particularly this, like, my big fat Greek fascist salute. Right? What would you say about it? How would you say it? Iladas. I'm trying to think. I find that. I want to see if we can find something here. Oh, come on. What if I try to find the words? Shit. Yeah, that's it. I wrote it down on my phone. That would probably, rather than Sikhal, it would be the original version was probably Eladas Cardisi. Eladas Hellas Cardisi wins. So that would be what it was. So so if you say, like, if you're ever caught doing one of these, you could say, "What does Adolf Hitler salute?" Like, no, it's not. It's Eladas Cardisi. You know what I mean? It's Greece wins. So cheers, everybody. You just found out that the most anti-Semitic gesture in God's green earth is actually a 2,500-year-old Greek salute that means Greece wins. I'm tickled by that to no fucking end. To no fucking end. And I just found out a couple of days ago. So, like I said, some dude from Spain on some Facebook group, and he posted. I was like, because the Spanish, right? It's whatever, Francisco Franco and blah blah blah, fascism, nationalism, blah 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 blah. So they do in Catalonia, Spain, that's super popular gesture. They still do that to this day, and people pull their hair out of their heads. Well, it didn't come from 1930s Germany. It came from 430 BC Athens. So like I said, that tickles me to no end. I fucking I fucking love that. Anyway, what else is going on? I don't know if I didn't have that many notes. I was just like, listen. This Bitcoin pump is real people with real money started to figure out that if you don't want to be canceled, you have to separate yourself from the US dollar. America has grossly overextended itself. The graveyard of empires is Afghanistan, right? And we've been to Afghanistan and we've lost Afghanistan. And all the world events you're going to see, or you are seeing, are America losing its power, no longer able to project power. Nobody, like, there's people on social media that say, well, they're going to try and hype up fucking support for a war in Afghanistan, in Ukraine. Got to tell you, not gonna happen. Nobody's going to do this. Like nobody's going to do this because here's our fucking military, right? This one was, I don't know if I showed this last week, but I want to show this again. If I did show it last week, I apologize. But if I have not, this is where we're at. And this matters at least as much as it used to. And the woke military started in the 1980s. Okay. So this is from a website called Live Leak. The world's first female F-35 fighter pilot crashes a $100 million jet. She tried to land on a carrier and she failed. She did not make the landing, and a $100 million fifth generation super fighter ended up in the ocean. Okay. Below that, somebody, of the comments, the top comment was, "Why the fuck am I still paying taxes?" Right? Because you got to have a female Navy carrier pilot, right? It's not enough. Listen, that woman could probably land that plane on just flat Earth, like in Nevada or whatever. I doubt she's a fighter pilot, really, but like she would probably fall to like the worst fighter pilot in fucking Cambodia, in a fucking crappy MiG Su-17. But in the 1980s, they were desperate for female fighter pilots, Navy fighter pilots. And in order to be a fighter pilot in the Navy, you have to land on a carrier, right? You have to land on an aircraft carrier, a pitching small metal deck in the middle of the fucking ocean. And some of that shit is like insanely scary, like mind blowing, because it's not flat land that you just have to put the fucking plane down on. It's a pitching and rolling fucking deck. And there's what do they call them? The Rios? No, not the Rios. They call them. There's someone that watches the planes come in, and they're on the radio to you, and they tell you what to do, and you have to do it absolutely. They know exactly what's going to happen, and you have to follow their fucking commands exactly, and then you'll fucking land. And men can do this, but women can't do this. They just can't believe that the deck of the fantail, the back of the aircraft carrier, which is maybe pitching up 50 feet and then dropping 75 feet, like that the timing of it while you're flying in the air, and like that you're going to land properly. They just don't believe it, so they fuck shit up. Anyway, so this chick fucked it up and dumped the plane. In the 1980s, during the Top Gun, Tom Cruise F-14 super fighter, by the way, the F-14 was an old fighter at the time, but the F-14, which was being replaced by the F-18. At the time, the Navy dropped, I think, five different airplanes that this one woman, they tried to get her fucking carrier fucking landing. She kept dumping these fucking things in a drink. And at the time, the planes were only costing like $50 million. So it cost about $250 million for the Navy to fail to get their first female carrier pilot back in the day. And I would not be surprised if of these F-35s, I could see 10 of them going to the bottom of the fucking ocean. You know what I mean? Like easily 10 of them going to the bottom of the ocean because, they need, they don't want women home making sandwiches. They want them flying F-35s against the Chinese Air Force to protect Taiwan. You know what I mean? Which they're not going to do. Which, by the way, the other thing, like, as soon as they mentioned fucking war in the Ukraine, every feminist in the world, and this was great on fucking Twitter, every feminist in the world was like baking cakes and getting the toilet brush out and cleaning the fucking bathroom. You know what I mean? As the reality is, you're going to be drafted to go up against fucking Russian special forces. They're like, oh, look, I baked you something. Here's a sandwich. Every feminist there ever was. So, will we continue dropping F-35s in the ocean? Yeah, probably. You know what I mean? They might even, I could think, and I don't understand why they don't do this now. Why don't they just digitally have a female pilot land on the fucking deck of a carrier and pop open the fucking canopy and get out, and everyone cheers like it's the movie Top Gun. Just do that. Like there's the again to reference Ukraine. There's the Ghost of Kiev fighter pilot that knocked out, which is not a real thing. It's something from a video game that the people photoshopped into a video. Why don't they just do that for the fucking? Why the fuck don't they just do that for the Navy and go, yeah, we got a female fighter pilot? Who the fuck's gonna know? Nobody's gonna know. Keep it deployed out. Make the announcement. Show some dude landing the plane, which is what they can do. Then but the canopy pops open, and then there's the female pilot going, hey, and everybody goes, hey, Top Gun, and that's it. Like why don't they do that? It's all bullshit anyway, they're not even smart enough to do that. But these are the people who, in wanting to stop a Russian invasion, give our highest quality intel to Russia's best friend, China, who just hands that to Russia. That's who you're dealing with. They're not smart enough to go, can we just fake the fucking carrier landing and be done with this and not drop these planes into the ocean where China can go and scoop them up and fucking get figure out how they all work? Can we not do that? No, they can't. They're not as smart as you think they are. None of them are. That's why it has to be rules, not rulers. Or strongman, or even the idea of democracy, the idea of decentralized governance, which was the best idea in human governance ever. It's still profoundly flawed. It's profoundly flawed, and the flaws always come through economics. It comes through money. The democracy turns into oligarchy, which turns into tyranny, right? That's the cycle, and that's correct. That's an accurate observation. So the problem is the money. Fix the money, fix the world. That's the way Bitcoiners think. That's what we say. That's what we're planning for. Are there tons of scammers? Yes. Are there people in the Ukraine and Russia going to use Bitcoin to hide the wealth that they have fucking extracted from the poor cocksuckers in Russia and Ukraine? Yeah, that's going to happen. However, to ultimately kill fiat currencies, to ultimately destroy the central bankers, to do what Henry Ford failed to do what Hitler failed to do what JFK failed to do what Saddam Hussein failed to do, and to do what Muammar Gaddafi failed to do, right, is going to require a different approach. So far in the last couple of 100 years, the central bankers have won, all right? There's a new enemy here. There's a new enemy at the gate, one that they're not accustomed to fighting, one that they're not good at fighting with. And the likelihood that we're going to succeed is very high. The likelihood that anyone else is even going to challenge them is zero. So you make your own choices. You got to make your own choices. Whose side do you want to be on? Do you want to be a serf? Not even a serf. You want to be a debt slave to the small hats? Okay. Run with that. You know what I mean? But some of us don't. Some of us have decided, you know what? Fuck you. We're not doing this. I'm not doing this. And so far, to be perfectly honest, in the last couple of years, I've done well with this. And anyone that's listened to me has also done well with this. You know what I mean? If you're super high time preference and you got to have a Lambo tomorrow, this is not for you, right? Go build up a huge social media following, and then as an anti-Semite or whatever the fuck, and then sell out your followers to the ADL or the FBI, whoever pays whatever, like Norman does, like Patrick Bateman, like all the rest of them. Like, you go do that. Go do the Richard Spencer thing. You know what I mean? It isn't really that tough, and he's not that good at it. You have to audition, right? Like you're an actor, like you're going to audition. You have to say the correct things the correct way and make it believable. And sooner or later, they'll contact you. Like the FBI will come knocking on your door, and they'll bring you to Starbucks, and they'll buy you a cup of coffee, and they'll say, hey, listen, convince your subscriber base to drive a van full of propane tanks into the local synagogue. And then the day before they do that, give us their address and their phone number so we can grab them up. And then you'll make a lot of money doing that. Not that tough. But if you think, hey, I don't want to do that, I don't want to be part of that. I want to be part of something else. Then what's your choice? What option do you have? Like what? Wait for the strong man, or begin to use a system of value that's permissionless and decentralized, not owned by the Jews, not controlled by the Jews. The Jews can't fucking stop it. Start moving into that. You don't have to do it all tomorrow. I think it would be a smart idea if you did it all tomorrow, but whatever. You don't have to do it all tomorrow. And then just leave them, like, because all their power is it. Nobody was born thinking, like, nobody. I remember this black woman. I used to, she worked in cargo back in the day. And I was going on about the Jews, and she's like, whatever. And what was the fucking, there was a dude, I don't remember his name. He's on YouTube. He's an American Jew who speaks Hebrew. And he goes throughout Israel, and he's like interviews Jews. Like, do you think the Torah says that all the goyim will be slaves to the Jews? And a bunch of Jews, like, they're just Jews sitting in the park, or whatever. Like, yeah, that's what it says. It's true. That's what we're promised, And there's other ones that are like wearing the fucking, like, they look like Chabad lunatics. They're like, yeah, they already do it. Look, who makes the cars for us? Who makes this for us? Who makes that for us? And this guy's a little bit repulsed by them, but he's trying to be a truth teller. He's trying to, with his limited Hebrew skills, he's too shocked by what he's fucking learned. He's one of them. He's like, no way everybody thinks this. And then he's in Israel, and he's like, fuck, a ridiculously high number of people think this. So anyway, there's a condensed clip of this, of the guy's like a bunch of shit on YouTube. So I showed it to this woman, and she was like, she looked at this and she read the subtitles. Yeah, blah, 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 blah. They're all going to be our slaves. And she goes, fucking no wonder they threw them in the ovens. No wonder the fucking Germans threw them in the ovens. I fucking laughed my ass off. Now, of course, we know that it didn't really happen. Like, they weren't really thrown into ovens by the thousands or the millions. But any rational person, right? If you look at someone and they say, you were born to be a slave to me and never question anything I do, or I'll cut your head off, like, they're going to bristle at that. They're going to go, you know what? Not 100% sure why I was born, but yeah, polishing your shoes, not the fuck, no. Pretty sure that's not it. So everyone's going to want to push back against that, right? However, there are people that you can put that right in front of their face and they'll go, that doesn't mean anything. That's just one guy. I'm like, no, that it is. There are outliers, right, that don't represent anyone. And then there are signifiers that go, you know what, this is more or less how people think, and disprove it, So you have to be able to tell the difference between an outlier and a signifier. And that's, a lot of people can't do that. But there's tons of, when you end up like me, like you go, okay, and I'm talking about with my family. I have a better success persuading people who I'm not related to, that I only know from my professional life or whatever, mostly from my professional life. I have a much higher success rate in persuading people, like, here's what you're dealing with, and here's your choices. You know what I mean? Go along with that or do something else. I get much more success with that than I get with my own family, who go like, listen, they're like, no, Donald Trump's going to come back and save us. Donald Trump and his deputy, whatever, Jared Kushner is going to save us. Like, no, they're not. Huge frustration on my part, but what are you going to do? Like, at the end of the day, what are you going to do? So you're going to sit here. You're going to use your crappy Android 10 phone when we're on Android 25 already. You're not even going to pay for cable internet. You know what I mean? And you're going to sit here. You're going to rant like a loon about how Bitcoin's going to change the world. We're going to rebuild everything as the fiat world collapses because they're all corrupt, psychotic, incompetent motherfuckers, right? And I'm going to pitch this idea to people who think Adolf Hitler or Jesus Christ or fucking Francisco Franco or fill in the blank dude is going to know he's going to come back and fix everything. That ain't going to happen, kids. Kids, guess what? That ain't going to happen. You know what I mean? Not to burst your bubble, but that's not going to happen. So, and at the end of the day, if even if the hero does come, you have to be worth fucking saving. And right now, you're not worth saving. So disconnect as much as you can from a system of debt and usury, right? Which enslaves you and those you care about and your progeny, and being lower time preference. This opens up your mind to possibilities that you hadn't previously thought of. And be patient and look at what's available to you, right? And again, like I said, the whole idea of Bitcoin is they can't steal from you through inflation, right? And it's extremely difficult for them to. They can't just kick in your door and take your piece of the internet. You know what I mean? That's the genius of it. This is a thing that technologically is possible now that was not possible in the last 100 or so years. So, and people like there's various mentally ill. Like, don't get me wrong. Like, there's nothing I love more than being anti-Semitic, because as far as I can tell, Semitism is a net negative to everyone who's not a Semite, who's not a tribe member, because there are Semites that are not tribe members. But here's I just lost my fucking train of thought. Keep drinking, James. Here's the best thing, is that there are one it animates, it makes it clear what you need to do, like what's important and what's not important, right? And that an enormous number of white people feel like they need to be moral. They feel like they need to not simply exist day to day and be transactional, but they want a moral component to their behavior, or their behavior to have some moral consequence, to shore up what is good and what is good and right, and at the very least, right? That's why there was like fair trade coffee and whatever ethically produced, ethically killed chickens, or whatever the fuck it is, right? So that need, or that desire for a lot of white people to feel like they're doing the right thing. They're doing an ordinary thing, an everyday thing, but they want to feel like there's a moral component, that their everyday actions also match up with some greater good that they believe in. I would argue this would be my argument, that controlling your own wealth in a form that no one can confiscate from you or steal from you via inflation is the best way to value others. Do you understand? If I'm going to exchange with you, right? But I'm exchanging with you in green pieces of paper issued by counterfeiters, issued by thieves and murderers, right? Usurers, fractional reserve banking. If I'm exchanging green pieces of paper with you, these paper receipts for my labor, for your labor, for your goods, for the goods that I don't really produce any goods, but whatever. But our transactions are controlled by people who hate us, right? And and devalue our lives on a regular basis, that both you and I could step out of this. Just step out of the system. You don't have to fight nobody. You don't have to fill a van full of fucking propane tanks and blow up the synagogue. You could just get out of the system. Just exit the fucking system that they set up peacefully and legally. And I'm not being ironical. There's no wink and a nod here. Peacefully and legally exit their fucking system. Why wouldn't you do it? The only answer is you're scared, right? And maybe you're scared, and I don't know how to make that better for you. But if you can peacefully and legally exit the fucking system of usury and debt slavery, that is fractional reserve fucking banking, why wouldn't you do it? For yourself and for your children. Why wouldn't you do that? I would think that it would be super obvious. It's the moral thing to do. That the person you're interacting with, you don't have to try and cheat them, right? Because you think that the value of the currency is going to drop. So you need to do this fast and get that thing from them quick. You need to cheat someone else so you don't lose. You don't want to be in that fucking insane fucking dog eat dog fucking at each other's throat all the time world. Why would you want to live that way? You don't have to live that way. You have something that's low time preference. You go, hey, ding, I'm going to send you X Bitcoin. You're going to get it, but whatever. Like, why wouldn't you want to live in a different system? And it's not a fantasy. This exists today, right? The Biden administration is trying to stop Russia from getting Bitcoin. All the stuff about Bitcoin, this is not fantasy. This is real world. This is affecting things at the highest fucking level and around the globe. This is not some bullshit. So I suggest you do that, but you do what you're going to do. You know what I mean? You may say, no, I want a guaranteed fucking written contract that nothing's going to go wrong and I'll never lose. Okay, good luck to you in the small hats, because whatever they tell you is not going to happen. Anyway, I just had a couple people. My audience just got cut in half. Anyway, I'm also at 1 hour 48, like almost going on 2 hours. I said I want to keep these shorter, but I'm ranting like a fucking whack, like a loon. I want to keep these shorter. So, okay. Hamida Hasib, thanks for showing up. Zoo, Relax, Delcroy, whoever else has shown up here is, that's the only people that showed up in the chat. Let's call stream, all right? I've drunk enough. I've been ranting like a whack job enough. And, things are going our way, and I hope you're with us. And if you're not, there's always room at the top, right? There's always room for one more. So going to say goodnight, everybody. Thanks for showing up. I'm gonna play the outro music, and I'll talk to you guys again next week.